Just wanted to start us off by lighting a candle. With this candle, I was looking for something to set the mood in my studio, and this candle comes with its own affirmation. It's called Needed Change, Sandalwood and Rosemary. And the affirmation is, I willingly let go of my past, anticipating the new path I now embark upon. How fitting for this moment, this episode in my life. Eventually. Eventually is my word of the year. Eventually tells me that the things that I want, the things that I am striving for, I'm working towards, it'll happen. It'll happen eventually. And eventually doesn't mean that it's on my timeline. That's sometimes hard for me to understand and to allow to happen in my life. I'm type A when it comes to setting goals for myself. I set monthly goals that really feed into my yearly goals. So I'm always working towards the things that I want to see happen for myself. But eventually, things will happen. And eventually, it's like a measurement tool. Sometimes I'm thinking, because again, on my timeline, I've worked a full month towards this goal. A few months ago, I was like, okay, every day leading up to this paper making workshop that I hosted, I'm going to post on TikTok every day. Post something related to paper making as I prepare for this workshop. And I did that. I'm so proud of myself. When the goal was over, that was it. I don't think I touched TikTok for a few more months. I know that there is a community out there. There's an online community, and you could find your tribe. You could find your people. You know, if you put yourself out there to create that community, to build that community. And that's what I want through my online platform, my online presence. But a month ain't gonna do it. A month will not suffice. It would not suffice. And it's like, Kuh-Dee-Juh, you saw the progress you made. You saw the engagement you received. You can't stop doing it. You can't think that, okay, within that month's time, you've achieved your goal. That's just a milestone in the journey of you achieving this. It's going to take work. So eventually you're going to make it to where you want to be. Right now, you in the grinding it out stage. Hell, you got to grind a little longer. Eventually means keep going. It's not forever, but it can feel like that in the timeline of your life. Because for you, life feels like this long thing. But in the grand scheme of the universe, existence, it's like that. Quick. And eventually for different things has a different timeline. That could be months, years. You damn near gotta forget about it and just stay dedicated and consistent. A few years back, I see, Facebook is undefeated. Facebook is undefeated. Somebody on Facebook was like, yo, how long do you boil eggs for? Person in the comments. You got to put the eggs in a pot of water and go do something else. And when you be like, oh shit, the eggs, that's when you know they done. And that's what eventually feels like for me. Oh shit. Oh my gosh, doing workouts in basketball. Ooh, holding a plank. Man, it's 45 seconds. Gotta be up and out of here already. We have to have made it to 45 seconds. It's only been 15. Forget about it. Forget about it mentally. You gotta just be able to be stronger than your will to quit. And the thing about eventually is that it requires hard work. Like joy, happiness, these things are within reach for us. I'm looking for joy in my day. Me sitting here not doing anything is not just gonna make joy appear in my lap. Sometimes I just gotta get up and walk outside and I can experience joy. You gotta work towards it. You gotta put in hard work and dedication and consistency. All of these things help you get to eventually. When you doing it every day, banging it out. Okay, I'm getting up even when I don't want to do it. Even when I'm crying, even when it's raining, I'm doing it consistently. When you falter, faith steps in. When you find yourself having to start over, faith step in, allows you to start over again, because guess what? That timing wasn't the timing for you to achieve it. That was supposed to be a milestone in the journey of whatever you are seeking out. Eventually, it's so forgiving. It ain't saying, okay, Kuh-Dee-Juh, you said 30 days you ain't eating no sweets. You started and you ate some sweets. Then you at the end of the 30 days and you feel like a failure. No, baby. Eventually won't do that to you. Eventually you say, all right, you tried it out. Now let's do it again. And this is all a part of the journey. This is all a part of your story, your testimony. Eventually, you gonna make it through. Eventually, you'll see how strong you are. Eventually, you will realize that you was meant to make it from the beginning. The way that I've been getting connected with eventually is this journey that I've been on to express myself, emotionally expressing myself, emotionally learning myself, growing. And it wasn't something that I set out to do, that I thought I needed to do. I didn't even know where I stood with it. But lately, I've wanted to make a deliberate effort to increase my emotional vocabulary. A few years ago, my brother passed away, and someone gifted me with Atlas of the Heart, a book by Brene Brown. If you know, you know. So receiving that book was monumental. At the time, I was going through a lot. I was like, this book, this is exactly what I need. I wanted to use that as a tool to find the words to describe things that I was going through, to have a person emotional dictionary. So I wanted to lean into that. But at the time, with me experiencing so much, I didn't have the capacity to take it in. I didn't recognize it when I was a kid, but I lacked the emotional vocabulary to express the things that I was going through. In middle school, I had to take anger management. Well, I talked about in elementary school when I would cry all the time, and that wasn't acceptable for the people I was around. And so I stopped crying. I stopped crying and I'd internalized it. And that started to build into anger. I would just combust. I had so many fights in middle school. Students and teachers on the brink of getting kicked out like crazy. I didn't know how to process things. And it got to a point where I was forced to go to anger management. At the time, all I recognized was that they gonna call them people on you. So you need to figure out how to play the system. How do they want you to act? That's not to say that the things went away and I found solutions to deal with the things I was going through. I was just smart enough to know how to play the system. And I was pretty good at that. But when my birth mom passed, that was a situation that, again, not a tight lid. Like, I was gonna combust, which I did. And that was a turning point in my life as I'm on the brink of moving on from high school to that next step of college. and no one in my immediate life had I witnessed experiencing this. And as I'm thrust in this new world around people that I hadn't been around growing up. So people want to get to know you. You want to get to know people. And I went to a predominantly white college. So there's no one that has a similar story to me. Now, I did go to school with my best friend. So we had a connection there. But even that, it was hard to connect because I was unraveling without knowing it. Every time someone asked me, oh, tell me about your family. How did you grow up? People who did know that my birth mom died. Well, tell me, how do you feel about that? Oh, that's horrible. You went through what? It just made me feel ashamed. It just made me feel so ashamed. Through these situations, I built up another mode of myself of how to get other people to talk about themselves so I don't focus on me. So I became a really good listener. I became a person that, oh yeah, tell me this, and I'm asking you a question about this. Like, I'm a good interviewer. I could be a journalist at this point, the way I'm interviewing people and keeping them engaged, and people want to talk about themselves. So it's easy. But before I built that up, I had another moment of emotional combustion. Now it's even more of a struggle for me to verbalize these things because I found myself in a mental decline. At that point, I was trigger warning, very much contemplating suicide. And at the time, it just felt like so much was happening that it felt easier to just not exist. That people could stop asking me these questions. They don't have to feel bad. I don't have to feel terrible and then be stuck with all of these feelings and all the things that I experienced. I was going through it mentally, just so much that I'm holding on to and not knowing where to go. And when I do open up now, you're saying, oh, now I have to report you. And now I found myself hospitalized. It's difficult because trust sometimes need to be broken in order to keep someone safe. And I'm doing these treatments and group sessions and one-on-one sessions. I stayed taking medicine long enough, but sometimes I felt like I didn't want to. And I had preconceived ideas about medication, talking to doctors, talking about your feelings. So I didn't give those things the proper try. Again, I understand I need to play the system. I also understand I'm really going through it. So it's like, I do want to hear what y'all have to say. And I want to be a participant because I need to know how to fix me. And after doing an intensive inpatient, actually moved to an outpatient program. I had a will enough in me to work to keep myself from experiencing the fluctuation in my moods. I wanted to be more aware of myself. So towards this time, I did start to think, when I feel this need to self-harm, what am I doing? What am I saying to myself? How can I keep myself from feeling that? Not every time I was successful. Sometimes I would still participate in that activity. But more and more, I thought about what things I wanted to achieve, what things I wanted to see come to fruition. That it wouldn't be able to happen if I keep doing the things that I'm doing that's getting me here. So I became more aware, and that was good. I really found that I knew myself best. To question myself and the things around me, and me being so aware that I had this emotional turmoil, I started to put all these tools together to just help myself thrive more. I wanted to get better. There was this innate feeling of not only to get better, but to continue to learn strategies to help myself along. not just to pull the wool over the eyes of the people who could lock me away, have something to say, and dictate, where I can go with my future. But because I really felt like, dang, I am gaining skills. So I looked for other therapists, and I came across an art therapist. I was like, art therapy was, I like a little art. I have been known to be creative in my day. The first session just blew my mind, and it wasn't anything crazy, but she told me, draw a house. A house? Okay, girl. I'm over here getting down. It was so interesting because the house wasn't nothing crazy, but I'm like, okay, you ain't asked me where my mama at, why I come in here with this white lady, who is this? She asked me all these weird questions that make me uncomfortable and clam up. She just said, draw a house. I can do that. I know what that got to do with nothing, but hey, okay. Well, after I draw the house, now we're analyzing this, and I didn't know that this was a part of it. But she's like, okay, well, why you didn't draw any grass? You ain't got no path to your house? You ain't got no chimney? Like, different things that she's pointing out to my drawing. And not everything that she said really related to me, but the way she broke down, like, okay, your lack of things in the picture versus the things you did put in here, even if you thought it was funny because I put a board over the window. But she's like, no, there was a reason that you did that. This don't feel safe, or you shouldn't be here, I'm like, girl, what? I'm intrigued. Some of them nail on the head. But for the most part, it's like, whoa, you could tell all of that from what I drew. The way she approached talking to me, it was so cool. Because it'll get to a point where, man, we have a real smooth conversation for 30 minutes. And maybe she asked me something or say something, and now I'm clamming up and I don't want to talk. I can't talk about it, but it's like, it's not that I don't like you. I've been sitting here chopping it up with you. I come in here every week for our session, so it must be something about this experience that is hard for me to verbalize. That helped me become aware of triggers, and end up being a cool tool that I now had in my repertoire, and now a wherewithal of myself and who I wanted to be, that drove me to continue to look out for myself, for the signs. It was almost like when I got to college, it was day one of me having emotions and learning how to deal with them. So it was like being a newborn that just cried all the time, cried. I had to figure out, okay, what's wrong? What's happening? What's going on? What's triggered this? It's like, I'm only crying and I can't verbalize anything. So I was having a lot of experiences with emotions and emotional capacity, emotional vocabulary and comfortability and communication. And then none of these experiences was I setting out to be healed and safe space for me. I wasn't thinking that, but it was something that I was slowly but surely working towards, and that was cool. All these mini experiences that felt like sometimes they had nothing to do with one another, but all of these things were stepping stones for the journey that I was on, and not recognizing it. You're already going through it. It's like each of these situations where this version of me is handing it off to the next version of me who's now embarking on a different obstacle within this race. It's like rugby though. It's like, no, it's not a relay race. It's more like rugby, because I'm like, nah, it ain't always just a smooth sailing run in your lane, hand it off to the next person. It's brutal. You're going to come out with scrapes and bruises. But when you come out victorious, those scrapes and bruises become trophies to show this what I went through to achieve what what I became, who I am. And it just took time. Each phase of this journey, there was a different goal in mind. Sometimes we think that when we're on our journey of eventually, that these many goals is the end. It's the end all be all, but it's not. You're just mastering one level. You're just reaching up one more rung of the ladder. You got to build brick by brick, step by step. And eventually, I think it's just me looking back. It lives rent-free in my brain. The Kuh-Dee-Juh that had to throw the blanket over their head to talk about stuff that hurt them deeply, to express things that I felt ashamed of. And now look at me. I'm sitting here. I'm literally looking at myself. I got this mirror posted in my studio. That was important to me. Yes, it's important, and I want to create a podcast so other people can hear and hopefully make understanding with the things that they're going through. But first and foremost, this is for me. This is me to talk to me and connect with me and say, yo, you got this. And I love you. I love you for everything you went through. I love you for deciding to do this right here, right now. I love you for making it this far. I see you. So now I'm finding and understanding the definition of terms in order to express myself the most accurately as possible. I recently started volunteering as a CASA. CASA is a court-appointed child advocate, where you show up in court and you are advocating for the needs of a child who has recently been removed from the home of their parents, removed temporarily, sometimes permanently from the care of their parental figures. You have to advocate for the needs of the child, what's best for the child. That is important. That is important. As a kid who experienced just being taken to places and told that I have to live here, I have to stay here, without being asked how I feel, do I feel safe, what's going on with my parent, when will I see them again, not knowing, to be an advocate for a child so that they don't have to experience that, that feels powerful to me. That feels like I'm showing my younger self that although you may have felt overlooked, you can make sure that that doesn't happen to someone else. So to be this advocate for a child is to encourage them and fill them up with the bravery to advocate for themselves. And until they get to that point, be that advocate for them. Oh, in order to do that, I need to challenge. I want to challenge myself to learn as many terms and emotions as I can. I can teach them. I want to challenge myself, and I have been challenging myself to expand my emotional vocabulary. So, going back to our girl Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart, she does a really good job of defining terms. She takes us through these narrations, these stories, ensuring that the way we've used them in the past is corrected by really understanding the definition of the term. And for me, that feels amazing. I feel like I learn best by understanding and connecting with the emotions of other people. The word that I learned and I wanted to incorporate into my life, my vocabulary, is Freude. Freude means taking joy from someone else's joy. When my friends experience good news, their joy becomes my joy. One of the examples was from a sports perspective, and I love that because I live my life through sports analogies, honestly. It was a soccer player who said the run and jump. They run and jump with their teammates like, hey, because you did it and we're celebrating you. A quick definition for me is secondhand joy. Freude. Secondhand joy. We can all use that. And I want to be that. And I want to recognize that in my daily life. And that's why I chose that word. I want that to be my characteristic trait that I'm known for. So I'm going to continue to challenge myself to learn terms, to incorporate them into my daily life, and hopefully pass that message on to others in a secondhand joy type of way. There are so many ways to teach. I want to be a person that can teach others by doing, being a living, breathing example of it. And doing that for someone else will help me do that for myself, will continue to help me show myself that I am worthy of that. But eventually, I got to a point where I was able to verbalize. I found a space. I found support. I found people that made me feel safe and heard and listened to. And even when I don't always have a listening ear in someone else, I found and I've continued to create a space for myself to do so through all of my phone recordings. And now deciding to embark on this podcast, not knowing how it's going to go, how it's going to turn out, but saying you are worthy. And the things you are going through are a testament enough to show that resilience and perseverance is within you. It's on you. It seeps out of you. Sometimes it really doesn't matter who else is listening, as long as you're listening to you. Eventually, I got to a point where I was able to put to rest some things that caused me a lot of trauma that I held on to, I felt guilty of, I felt ashamed about. Sometimes we can't know the impact something will have on us. Going through that period of time where I was tracking why I cried, the severity of my cry, to create a safe space for myself to cry. It was during that moment where I found myself able to so easily open up about the traumatic thing that happened to me when I was younger. Here is that recording. So yesterday, I had a moment of reflection, recognition, a moment of memories flooding back to me, and not pleasant ones, but the way in which I was able to care for them and handle them as they came to me, I felt like was good. As I'm going on this journey of recognizing that I cry and when I cry and what I cry about, I'm okay with it. That's the whole thing, is taking away shame and guilt. And honestly, even though I didn't cry, I recognized that it's working, because when this memory came, it was about me being groomed when I was younger. People to take advantage of me and to do things to me that was not right for them to do to a little kid or to any person, you know what I'm saying, without their consent. And yet, when it came to me, I was able to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it. And I realized when I was able to say the person's name and not cry about it, not stutter, not be afraid to say and feel like what's going to happen to them, or how will people look at me or think about me when they know that who that person is. Like, I had no fear. I had no shame about it. I could remember my younger self and how I was manipulated and how they used things that I enjoyed to get what they wanted. Like, that's wrong. So I'm proud of myself for that. When I'm recalling this experience, I'm not crying. And I told myself, like, Kuh-Dee-Juh, recognize that if you was even a month before, this probably would have destroyed you. Because something about that faith, that eventually, that best friendship of eventually. But it didn't break me because I had the tools set for myself. I had created a space for myself that I knew I would be able to take care of myself. I was able to release it. I was even able to share that experience with someone, a trusted source. I was able to share that same day, same moment. And that's so powerful. And that let me know right there. I've been doing a lot of the hard work over the years. I've been putting in the work daily. Sometimes for myself, sometimes in spite of others. I have to make a concerted effort to put time and energy into this journey. But all the while, I was still on a path of healing me and gaining the emotional maturity to be here now. Trust in a divine timing. But don't get so caught up in the timestamp of things. Things ain't gonna come right away just because you want it to. Or in 30 days because you put it on your to-do list and you've been working hard. Yeah, that's showing yourself that you can stay dedicated and consistent with something. But that don't mean you done, and that don't mean it's done with you. The universe got some stuff in store for you. Believe that. But also have some stuff in store for yourself. Have some things you want to work towards. I know I do. I know I want to get better at this social thing. That's not to say our social activity and presence has to look like somebody else's. But it's going to look like me, and I just got to stay consistent with me. And I got to stay locked in with eventually. Sometimes I don't recognize that some things that I want right now is on the eventually plan. So, Kuh-Dee-Juh, eventually, you will have the emotional vocabulary to express yourself and do so for others as you so choose and help them along the way. Eventually, you will feel comfortable posting and being connected to an online community that you feel comfortable and safe connecting with. Eventually, you will have a daily routine that fits who you are, whether that be waking up earlier or if that means just finding a way to achieve your productivity. Eventually, you will live the life that you want for yourself. You're already making that happen in so many ways. Stay locked in, and your best friend eventually gonna be right there with you.